Errol resides in a fantasy world where the goddess grants every person a specific class blessing to define them. This designation determines their future career and is revealed precisely when they turn 10 years old. Today marks Errol's 10th birthday and the big moment he finally receives his assignment. His family buzzes with excitement imagining his powerful future role, though Errol himself appears completely indifferent to this entire momentous system. After breakfast, they hurry to the church where a priest stands by the altar, ready to bless the gathered children in a traditional ceremony. He announces each child's destiny, with some becoming blacksmiths while others are chosen as chefs. His sister explains that lineage matters, so he will likely inherit an impressive class just like their parents have. Finally, Errol's turn arrives, and he walks toward the priest. The crowd murmurs, speculating on his legendary potential, given his mother is a sword saint and his father is a powerful archmage. The priest eagerly touches Errol's forehead, but pauses in visible confusion when absolutely nothing happens during the ritual. He gazes down at the boy with pity, announcing that Errol has no class at all. Days later, his parents try to cheer him up, promising to support him forever, but Errol isn't actually upset about the news regarding his future. He assures them he is fine, revealing he has secretly practiced the art of swordsmanship since early childhood. He trains daily, acknowledging that receiving a swordsman class would have made his technical progression much easier. Yet, he believes he can succeed through sheer effort and the intense training from his incredibly powerful mother. His relieved family watches him leave, and he wanders alone until loud noises from the training grounds catch his attention. He spots two boys sparring. Their form is terrible, yet the swordsman class blessing makes them surprisingly capable fighters despite their lack of skill. They spot Errol watching nearby and demand to know why he's lurking there. Errol states he came to train, causing the pair to burst into laughter. They mock him, insisting a classless boy cannot fight, then recklessly hack at each other to demonstrate their power. Unimpressed by their display, Errol calmly asks if they would like to spar with him. The boys assume he is joking, but eventually agree to the match. Before starting, one asks if Errol at least possesses the blessing of divine protection. Everyone has this innate barrier that absorbs damage, though it can shatter if the opponent is significantly stronger than them during a fight. Errol confirms he has it, meaning the boy can attack freely without worrying about accidentally killing him. Errol taunts that he doesn't need protection against them, angering the boy who charges forward with a wild swing of his blade. Errol parries effortlessly, and the shocked boy swings frantically, but Errol blocks and deflects every single strike thrown his way with ease. Desperate, the friend attacks from behind, but Errol dodges the ambush with superior speed and agility. Compared to his mother, these boys are slow, so he invites them to attack him together for a challenge. He charges, knocking one out with a hilt strike, while the other trips over his friend and falls down hard on the ground. As they whine about the fight being unfair, a red-haired boy steps into the ring, telling them to shut up immediately. In a real war, they would be dead. Errol doesn't know him, but the redhead approaches confidently and demands a duel right now. He claims Errol only won due to innate talent from his mother, insisting a classless loser cannot beat a trained class holder with basic skills. The boy reveals he is the son of Captain Evans, the leader of the village guards. Errol recalls the captain visiting his mother, though this boy resembles that rugged man very little in appearance. The boy complains that Errol's mother is always ranked above his father. To prove his family's superiority over hers, he vows to defeat Errol in a fight. They take their stances, and the duel begins immediately. The redhead attacks aggressively, seeking a quick win, but Errol's defense is impenetrable thanks to years of training with his mom. They move at high speeds across the grounds, leaving the previous two bullies stunned on the floor. Errol notes the boy is strong but fights with sloppy anger, making him predictable and easy to read. Errol spots an opening, but the boy anticipates it and unleashes a special aerial/attack. Errol blocks the first hit, but the second strikes his chest, flooring him instantly. Errol asks about the move, and the boy gloats that a classless loser can never learn such advanced skills. Days later, that defeat ignites a new fire of determination within Errol. He practices alone in the forest against a dummy, eventually replicating the twin slash that previously defeated him after countless attempts. A goblin ambushes him, but Errol spins around and unleashes his new twin slash technique, killing the creature instantly and dropping it. Just as he celebrates his new technique, A terrifying roar echoes from the forest depths, shaking him. He turns to fetch the guards, but freezes upon hearing a boy scream for help nearby. Realizing the guards won't arrive in time, he rushes into the danger zone himself to assist. He finds an injured boy, who turns out to be the redhead who beat him earlier. The boy is bleeding and battered, holding his sword against a massive, menacing hobgoblin in the clearing. Errol has never seen one, as they usually stay far away from the village. He hesitates, doubting his own strength, but knows the boy will die if he leaves to get help now. Errol sneaks behind the monster, just as it prepares to finish off the red-haired boy. He unleashes a powerful twin strike, slashing through the goblin and killing it immediately. The boy is shocked by the kill, and amazed that Errol used a class-specific attack without having a class himself. Errol hands him holy water to heal his wounds quickly. The boy asks how it's possible, and Errol explains class doesn't matter. Anyone with skill and power can do it. He analyzed the twin slash after his loss and practiced until he understood the mechanics to replicate it perfectly. Skeptical of this explanation, the boy demands a rematch, which Errol gladly accepts. They face off, activating their abilities simultaneously to strike. Errol blocks the slash and adds a third strike, hitting the boy and knocking him down to the floor. The boy is furious, but Errol explains he isn't limited by system skill, so he can add infinite slashes if he is fast enough. The boy stands and attacks again, but the third slash hits him harder this time around. He hits the ground again, and Errol walks away victorious. 5 years later, Errol departs for Brescia, a kingdom renowned for its sword mastery and training. His parents trained there, and he aims to become the greatest just like they did. He shares a cart with strangers, including 2 high-level swordsmen accompanying him. One is a barbarian, and the woman is a skilled dual wielder. They both seek training in Brescia, but constantly argue and fight with each other during the trip. The driver tries to calm them, but the misogynistic man tells the woman to return to the kitchen. Their argument is cut short when the cart driver suddenly yells that there is trouble ahead. Errol looks up calmly and spots a massive horde of dangerous orcs led by a giant leader blocking their path forward. The terrified children in the cart beg the barbarian to save them, but the coward refuses to risk his life for strangers and jumps off the cart to run away. The woman follows him, claiming everyone is on their own. The driver panics, wondering if he can outrun the horde with the cart. Without a single word, Errol climbs down from the cart and walks calmly toward the monsters. Ignoring the driver's frantic warnings, he dashes at the first orc and stabs it directly in the heart. Errol finds himself encircled by the horde, preventing him from dashing, but he shocks the driver by executing the legendary blade dance, spinning like a whirlwind to cut down every single enemy around him simultaneously. The driver is baffled because that high-level skill belongs exclusively to the female sword princess class, making it impossible for men. Errol ignores gender restrictions and charges the orc leader, dodging a strike before leaping onto the beast and driving his sword deep into its skull, killing the massive creature instantly with one blow. He returns to the stunned driver, ordering him to proceed to Brescia, while a curious child asks what class he holds. He admits he has no class at all, leaving everyone completely shocked. He recalls showing his mother the twin blade skill 5 years ago. Although initially skeptical, she was overjoyed to learn he could replicate any skill he saw, promising to teach him every secret technique of the sword princess class immediately. Returning to reality, the driver wakes him as they finally arrive in Brescia. Errol steps out, seeing the town square swarming with armed swordsmen everywhere. Errol turns and asks if the driver is an advanced swordsman. The man denies it initially, but Errol knows only an expert could recognize his specific combat moves. The driver confesses he belongs to the Holy Knight class, but grew tired of constant battle, preferring to relax and pretend to be a normal civilian driver now. Realizing Errol is new here, the knight advises him to join a guild immediately to get started. Without a guild, he cannot enter tournaments. In this city, winning tournaments is how swordsmen prove their worth and earn gold. Errol dismisses the money, stating he only wants to fight the strongest opponents available here. The driver warns him to avoid toxic corporate guilds that will crush his spirit. The driver departs, and Errol explores the city, observing guilds, recruiting members and lines of swordsmen, hoping to join the most prestigious groups in town. He bumps into a small blonde girl who clings to him, desperately begging him to join her supposedly famous guild right away. Errol senses her extreme desperation and immediately refuses her aggressive offer to join. The girl persists, annoying him repeatedly, but Errol refuses to be swayed by her cute appearance or begging. He asks for the strongest guild, and she reluctantly admits the Shadowblade is currently top tier, boasting 8 A-rank swordsmen in their ranks. He gets directions and heads straight for their headquarters. A guard stops him, pointing him toward the test reception. Inside, he finds a massive line of applicants, which excites him as he imagines the powerful opponents he might get to fight during the trials. However, the receptionist mocks his classless status, stating that only those with advanced swordsman classes are allowed to attempt the guild trials here. Errol insists he can pass, but she flatly refuses to register him at all. Disappointed, he turns to leave just as 3 celebrated A-rank swordsmen arrive, treated like royalty by everyone there. Uninterested in their fame, he tries other guilds, but every single one rejects him immediately solely because he lacks a proper combat class. Exhausted, he retrieves his mother's letter, instructing him to find her old guild, knowing they would surely help him out. He suspects she anticipated this struggle, but feels grateful for the backup plan. Before he can read it, the blonde girl grabs him again, insisting her guild is still willing to accept him. She begs him to join as charity, pointing proudly to a beautiful guild house she claims belongs to her. She explains her guild, Dragon Fang, was once the nation's premier group, but has recently crumbled, and she is desperate to recruit him to help restore it to its former legendary glory. The name sounds familiar, and he recalls his mother mentioning a dual-wielding leader who named his guild Dragon Fang after a special technique he created himself. He checks the letter and confirms it is indeed the exact same guild. He agrees to join, which instantly delights her. Inside, they find a one-armed drunk man lounging heavily on the couch. He dismisses Errol, claiming the guild is finished, but the girl reveals he is her father, a former elite swordsman who fell into despair after losing his arm in battle. Errol surprises her by insisting he still wants to join. Overjoyed, she hands him a contract, which he fills out and returns to her immediately. She asks why he left the class section blank. Errol calmly replies that he possesses no class. Furious, she draws her sword, feeling deceived because she assumed his arrogance meant he was strong. Suddenly, a beautiful red-haired woman named Ray enters the room, interrupting them. The girl runs to Ray, crying that this classless fraud tricked her into signing him. Ray notices him and expresses shock, never expecting to see him in the city. Errol is confused, but Ray reminds him they trained together back in their home village long ago. He finally realizes the red-haired boy he fought repeatedly in the past was actually a girl the entire time. The blonde girl asks Ray if this is the legendary classless fighter who beat her, having thought the story was just a myth. Still bitter about her past loss, Ray immediately challenges him to a duel. She attacks with a twin slash, and although Errol attempts to counter, her strike blasts through his defense and hits him squarely in the chest. Ray explains she holds the power swordsman class, allowing her to wield a sword 5 times heavier than normal, granting her strikes immense devastating force behind every single heavy blow. Errol is impressed she retained her speed despite the weight, but she still cannot match his own superior agility. He creates a confusing afterimage to distract her, then appears behind her to strike her exposed back. Confused, Ray attacks again with the same result. She is shocked he uses advanced techniques, while Errol realizes her defense is too high for him to defeat with standard attacks alone. Ray attempts a finishing blow, but Errol executes his mother's signature countermove, forcing her to her knees and ending the fight instantly right there. The blonde girl's attitude shifts completely, welcoming him and admitting their guild is currently drowning in crippling financial debt. To survive, they must enter tournaments as a 3-person team to fight against full 5-member squads. Errol is thrilled by the challenge, looking forward to honing his skills against powerful opponents. The next morning, Errol wakes up in his new room's bed. He pauses to process everything that has happened recently. Being in his mother's legendary guild is significant, and he vows to restore its greatness to avoid letting her memory down. He joins the girls in the living room, where they are already discussing the upcoming tournaments together. The blonde girl informs him the tournament starts next week, and with 3 members, they are finally eligible to register and compete for the prize money. She warns that the elimination tournament will be difficult because opposing guilds have 5 members, meaning their small 3-person team is at a severe disadvantage and must defeat multiple opponents each just to survive the opening round. She remains optimistic, however. Errol is unfamiliar with the concept and asks for clarification regarding the specific ranking system mentioned. The blonde girl explains that 5 ranks exist from A to D, with a rank reserved for the top 20 swordsmen in the country. Only 20 people qualify for that elite. Meanwhile, D rank is for complete novices who barely know how to hold a blade properly. She proudly boasts that she and Ray are B rank, and since Errol beat Ray, he is considered B rank too. That makes him a B rank fighter, as well by association. With 3 B rank swordsmen, they possess strong odds for surviving at least the initial rounds of the tournament. She heads to the kitchen, leaving Errol alone with his thoughts. Errol stops Ray as she is leaving to ask about her unique power swordsman abilities. Still annoyed by her recent loss, she explains her ability to harden her mana shield, protecting her from weaker attacks during combat. Errol ponders learning this valuable technique, wondering how to acquire it when a brilliant idea suddenly strikes him. He asks Ray to strike him with her sheathed sword. Ray refuses, uninterested, but Errol grabs her hand, pleading desperately for her to help him. Ray misunderstands his intentions, suspecting Errol has some weird masochistic fetish involved here. She isn't completely opposed, but suggests they start with something more conventional first. Errol clarifies the confusion, explaining he needs her to hit him so he can learn to harden his mana shield, which is crucial for surviving battles against multiple opponents where taking hits is inevitable. Shocked by his request, she asks if he has lost his mind. Skills are divine gifts from the goddess and cannot simply be learned by observation. Errol silences her, reminding her he already mastered the twin blade slice and instant transmission without any blessings. Defeated by his logic, Ray agrees to attempt the training session once. At the training grounds, she hands him her sword, warning that it is 5 times heavier than normal blades. Without the brute strength skill, swinging it should be impossible for him. Errol grabs the weapon, unsheathing and swinging it with shocking grace, silencing her doubts instantly. Ray is stunned, demanding to know how a classless person performs such incredible feats without skills. Errol attributes his success entirely to years of dedication and daily practice. He promises to match their innate talent with sheer effort. Moved, Ray apologizes and agrees to train him, warning she will not hold back her strength at all. Errol agrees and flirts playfully, but Ray instantly smacks his face hard with her sheathed sword. Later, the blonde girl arrives breathless, announcing she discovered their opponent, and the news is unfortunately very bad for them. They are facing the Black Blade Guild, a top group featuring 8 A-rank swordsmen led by the vicious Geo, but she refuses to retreat, declaring passionately that they will fight their hardest to defeat these formidable candidates. She notices Errol lying battered on the ground after his intense beating from Ray. She asks if he is dead, but Ray calls it special training. The girl suspects Ray is just venting stress on him. Errol stands up, complaining he is starving after getting beaten up so much. A week of training flies by, and the competition day finally arrives. Crowds gather at the Coliseum, eagerly discussing the upcoming matches. Errol marvels at the venue's size, while the blonde girl rages after hearing rumors that her guild has already failed. Ray manages to restrain her. Errol notices the gambling, and the girl informs him the odds against them are currently 20-1. Errol finds that impressive, but she snaps that it means nobody believes they can possibly defeat the Black Blade. However, this is an opportunity. Winning now would yield a massive payout from a single match. Ray tries calming her, but the girl is consumed by fiery ambition. She insists they must win to save the guild, intending to become incredibly rich after their victory. She even bet the guild house itself as collateral. Winning will change their lives and erase their reputation as a failing guild. Ray worries about losing, but the girl replies that defeat means losing everything anyway, so it doesn't matter. Suddenly, Geo, the Black Blade leader, approaches and mocks her, revealing he manipulated the draw to ensure their guilds would face each other in the very first match. He expects an easy victory to extinguish the last remnants of her once great guild forever. He mockingly comforts her, saying winning would prove her worth. That requires beating his A-rank swordsman. However, victory seems impossible with a classless loser on her team. He doubts their chances, given their weak lineup. Laughing at his own cleverness, he wishes them luck and leaves. Inside the arena, Errol notices Gio isn't fighting and wonders if that improves their winning chances. Ray explains the whole enemy team is A rank, and their lineup looks unusually aggressive today. Battle time arrives, and the announcer introduces the contestants. The Black Blades send forward a green-haired boy with the Fencer class. He arrogantly declares he will defeat the entire opposing team alone. The commentator is surprised to see Dragon Fang fielding Errol, the classless swordsman, for the fight. The Fencer looks bored, unimpressed by the prospect of defeating a classless idiot. He decides to proceed anyway, so he can fight the girls later. The match begins instantly. The Fencer dashes and stabs Errol's chest, shocking everyone with his speed, but Ray tells the worried blonde girl to look closer. It was merely Errol's shadow. Surprised but unfazed, the Fencer turns and lunges again, only to strike another after him. He realizes this fight will take longer than expected as Errol's images surround him, but he plans to stab them all rapidly. The images attack simultaneously. The Fencer slashes them, but gets stabbed by the real Errol. He successfully produced 3 difficult afterimages to confuse his opponent. The Fencer collapses, and the match ends instantly. Errol mentions practicing against his mother, who used 5 images while going easy on him. The crowd cheers wildly for the classless candidate, shocking the commentator. Errol realizes his technique wasn't as refined as the Fencer's, meaning he still needs more practice. In the next match, Errol faces a dual wielder, unleashing a constant barrage of strikes. Errol blocks everything before using the twin slash to defeat his opponent. With 2 down, he faces a careful reverse grip dagger user who employs martial arts alongside his blade, presenting a different challenge. It's futile. Errol is too fast, confusing him with afterimages before striking him down from behind. Ray and the blonde girl are stunned that he effortlessly defeated 3 A-rank swordsmen, filling the girl with genuine hope for victory. The next match is harder against a tough shield swordsman. Unable to land critical hits, Errol dances around to slowly wear down his defense. His opponent screams in disbelief that Errol cannot possibly be classless. Errol insists his achievements come solely from sheer hard work. The brute mocks him, claiming hard work can't beat talent, and rushes forward with a shield bash. Errol uses his mother's foresight technique, predicting the move and kicking the shield down. He then uses the martial arts kick he learned from his previous opponent to hit the brute's stomach. He picks up the dropped shield and advances. Enraged, the brute attempts to attack. Errol parries, dashes forward, and destroys his opponent with his own shield bash move. The crowd riots, accusing him of lying about his rank. Organizers scan his ID on the crystal ball, broadcasting live proof that he is indeed classless. With that settled, the next unique opponent is announced. Named Masamune, this swordsman is of samurai lineage from the east, wielding a curved katana. Errol senses danger and prepares himself before Masamune even draws his blade. Knowing this fight is different, he realizes Masamune is coiled like a snake, waiting to strike with an ultimate skill. Curious, Errol steps forward, intentionally putting himself in danger. Masamune instantly snaps his sword at Errol upon entry, but Errol is faster, disappearing and reappearing behind him. Masamune is shocked, and Errol admits he is genuinely the fastest person he has seen in the city. However, his mother was faster, so he is accustomed to speed. He uses the sword princess's ultimate skill, stabbing multiple times to defeat him. Silence falls over the shocked crowd as the supposed weakest fighter sweeps the strongest guild's best members. Errol walks to his team, content they earned enough money to save the guild. That evening back at the guild house, they celebrate with drinks. Errol is shocked the small girl is old enough to drink, but she insists she is an adult. Despite her size, she is amazed Errol single-handedly defeated 5 A-rank swordsmen. She decides to woo him, seeing him as her ticket out of poverty. She proposes marriage, promising to fulfill all his desires. Errol rejects her flatly, claiming he prefers someone like Ray. Ray blushes furiously, jumping up to scold Errol for making up nonsense just to reject the other girl. Errol insists he was serious. He asks why she doubts him, recalling he once called her manly during their childhood sparring. She claims everyone says she lacks feminine charm entirely. However, Errol sees obvious feminine traits and politely disagrees with her assessment. The blonde girl realizes Ray is oblivious to her own assets, so she dismisses her as a romantic threat. She rubs Errol's leg, suggesting he needs relaxation after fighting, and invites him to join her in the bedroom. Rei becomes instantly embarrassed. She scolds the girl, who slyly claims she only intends to give him a well-deserved massage for his fatigue. Surprisingly, Errol states he would prefer receiving a massage from Rei. His concept of massage involves getting beaten by Rei during training. Hoping to finally master the powerful reinforcement magic she uses so effortlessly in battle. She watches from above. She questions if Errol understands relaxation, but the noise wakes her father. He stumbles down hungover, complaining about the racket and assuming they are fighting to vent their frustration over losing the tournament so early in the night. However, she corrects him, revealing they actually defeated the top-ranked guild. He listens, but assumes the enemy sent weak rookies as cannon fodder. She shocks him by clarifying that every single opponent was actually a top-tier fighter. Furthermore, Errol defeated everyone alone without assistance. This news sobers him instantly. He eyes the bruised boy skeptically, while his daughter happily admits she placed several high-stakes bets. Since Errol swept the enemy team, she won the jackpot, clearing their debt and fully covering all future operating costs. Her father, however, remains deeply pessimistic. He warns that if the boy is truly strong, larger and richer guilds will inevitably poach him, so she shouldn't get her hopes up. She tells him not to worry because she plans to marry Errol, binding them for life. Errol firmly announces he refuses that plan. Turning to the father, he insults the girl's intelligence, but praises her for not being a loser who quits everything. This insult angers her father, but Errol ignores the danger. He continues lecturing him to stop moping, insisting he act his age since he can still wield a sword with one hand. Triggered, the father instantly grabs Errol by his collar. He warns him against discussing topics he misunderstands. He claims a dual wielder, who cannot use two swords, is simply wasting oxygen. Errol disagrees, citing his own struggle as a classless swordsman striving to rise in this harsh world. The father shoves him and leaves. The girls rush to Errol, checking if he is hurt, while the blonde apologizes for her father's behavior and thanks him for speaking up. Errol insists her father remains incredibly strong despite losing his arm. He believes it is a waste to let such immense strength and experience go unused. He imagines learning cool skills from the veteran dual wielder, and vows to motivate Rod to finally pick up his sword and fight once again. Hearing his desire to learn, she suggests he explore the dungeons near the city. Errol knows absolutely nothing about dungeons. Rei explains dungeons are trap-filled caves teeming with monsters. They are perfect places to learn skills and gain real combat experience, which will help them prepare for the upcoming Sword God Cup tournament. Seeing his confusion, she explains the city hosts an annual tournament where the nation's elite swordsmen compete to prove their skills and determine who is truly the strongest fighter. The blonde girl presents a form, urging Errol to sign up immediately. To Rei's horror, he shreds it instantly. Confused, Rei asks if he refuses to join the contest. Errol reveals the girl tried to trick him into signing a marriage certificate instead of registration. She laughs, claiming she was just testing him. Tired of her games, Errol puts her in a chokehold as punishment. The next morning, he wakes to her assault. He dodges, ties her up, and leaves. Later, they visit the dungeons, where the girl explains the teleportation circles allow travel to specific levels. However, adventurers can only teleport to floors they have physically reached previously. She claims she reached level 12, while Rei reached 14. Errol decides to join Rei on level 14, but the girl insists he must personally visit a level first before he can teleport there. Disappointed that he cannot fight strong monsters immediately, Errol listens as she promises to show him a secret shortcut that leads to the lower floors quickly. They agree, but she tries isolating Errol immediately. She drags him away, claiming Rei should continue her run since Errol doesn't need two guides. Unwilling to be manipulated, Errol insists Rei comes along. On the first floor, two armored knights attack them immediately. Errol draws his blade to fight one, while Rei engages the other. He is surprised by the armored knight's agility, but he can handle the speed easily. He decapitates the knight with a dash, only to find the empty armor is powered directly by the dungeon's own mana. The headless knight keeps moving. Rei warns they lack weaknesses, so Errol targets the legs, successfully causing the magical armor to collapse onto the ground, completely disabled. Rei defeats hers too, urging them to move before regeneration occurs. Before continuing onward, Errol asks the girl about her class. She proudly identifies as a fencer, offering to teach him in training or bed, but Errol rejects her advances and proceeds. Before entering the second level, they hear cries for help and discover a bloodied man near the door. He kneels, begging for assistance. Ray suggests surfacing, but the man refuses, insisting his injured friends are still trapped inside by a dangerous mechanism. He begs for rescue, but the greedy girl immediately demands payment for their help. Surprisingly, he pays a large sum. However, Errol senses something suspicious as he walks behind the injured man. He realizes someone with such blood loss shouldn't be walking without healing water, let alone returning to danger. He deduces the injuries are fake, but stays silent, intrigued by the deception and hoping it leads to something fun. He leads them to a secret room containing a blood trail and a single gold coin. The coin entices the girl, who grabs it. A teleport circle activates, and Ray realizes it's a trap. The man grins, boasting about being paid well for this easy job. Surprisingly, the magic circle teleports him along with the others. They arrive on an unfamiliar floor deeper than level 14, though no strong enemies are currently visible yet. The Froster shakes with absolute uncontrollable terror. He stammers that this deepest floor supposedly houses the legendary advanced sword god. A rainbow-armored knight appears. The girl refuses to believe the myth of the sword god class is actually real or dangerous. Errol senses danger and shoves her down as the sword god releases a powerful slash that instantly shatters the thick dungeon walls. The sword god attacks Errol immediately, who barely raises his blade in time. He blocks but slams into the wall, surviving only thanks to Ray's reinforcement training. He attempts a counterattack, but the knight is too fast, using advanced moves to dash backward out of reach. He smiles, seeing this as a perfect testing opportunity. His party watches in shock as he uses Divine Step to close the distance, unleashing a barrage of strikes that the knight blocks. Forced back, the knight uses a gravity skill, crushing the others onto the floor helplessly. Errol stands firm, having endured similar heavy gravity pressure during his childhood. While training with his mother, he struggled just to remain standing. Back then, he was helpless against her attacks. Now things differ. He uses the gold coin to neutralize the attack, creating an opening he exploits immediately. He unleashes Infinite Break, his strongest ability. The knight shatters instantly, shocking everyone present in the room. After drinking holy water to recover, they safely exit the dungeon using the teleportation spell. Back at the bar, Rod overhears 3 young idiots boasting about tricking Dragon Fang's new members into a deadly trap from which they will likely never return alive. Rod smashes their table with a punch, demanding answers, but Jorg interrupts, mocking him as a useless drunkard who is good for nothing. Rod realizes Jorg orchestrated the entire trap, meaning his daughter's chances of survival are likely virtually non-existent now. He lunges at Jorg but is swatted aside effortlessly. Kneeling in despair over his daughter, he is suddenly startled by a familiar voice. He turns to see the girl, Errol, and Ray entering the tavern unharmed. While complaining about hunger, she spots her father. She is surprised when Rod suddenly embraces her tightly. He thanks God she returned safely. Ray confronts Jorg, revealing his accomplice confessed the entire trap was actually his specific master plan all along. He denies responsibility, insisting that adventurers are solely responsible for their own safety underground. Errol admits that point is valid. Rod warns Jorg he will pay. Jorg insults the washed-up drunkard again before simply walking out of the room. Errol wonders what schemes await them next. Days later, the blonde girl receives the scroll containing the preliminary tournament brackets. She is horrified to discover she is in Errol's bracket, crushing her spirit because she has absolutely zero chance of winning the preliminaries or representing the guild in the main event. Errol asks about preliminaries, and Ray explains that because the Sword God Cup attracts so many aspiring swordsmen, it is impossible to allow every single applicant into the main tournament. The city organizes random brackets to filter the contestants. Opponents are chosen by luck, and only bracket winners advance to the main tournament. Errol checks the scroll, noticing Ray is fortunately in a separate group. She thanks God, knowing she stood no chance fighting against Errol. She prays for an easy path through the preliminaries. Errol mocks her daddy issues, but the blonde girl interrupts. She insists they return to the dungeon to train. Bored of dungeons, Errol wants to skip the training. She acts cute, claiming she needs a strong man to protect her if danger arises. Ray finds her pathetic and decides to teach her about being independent. Before they leave, Rod appears dramatically, grabbing his daughter in a panic. He warns her to be safe, fearing Jorg might strike again. Seeing his genuine fear, she solemnly promises to be safe before walking out. Rod turns to see Errol silently judging him. Rod insists he still has time to become a protective father to her. Errol simply smiles back. He says it's never too late to change. Weeks later, the day of the preliminaries finally arrives. Matches begin amid cheering crowds as fighters clash violently, filling the arena with flying sparks and steel strike. The herd thins as fighters fall, and the blonde girl loses her match before she can even face Errol. She broods in the corner, saddened by failing to reach the finals. Errol bluntly tells her she worried for nothing about facing him, because she was destined to lose to someone else anyway. Though hurt, she composes herself, warning him to stay alert because the other finalist in their group possesses dangerous hidden tricks despite his strength. Errol remains completely unbothered. He replies that after seeing Dungeon Monsters, he doubts this opponent can surprise him with anything new. She remains skeptical, revealing the red-haired swordsman is actually a magic swordsman who reinforces her blade with mana spells for extra power during combat. Errol finds this interesting, surprised the city allows magic in a tournament specifically for sword mastery. She replies that class doesn't matter. Only guild membership is required to enter. The announcer calls Errol, and she wishes him luck. In the arena, the red-haired girl confronts him, declaring she is a magic swordsman and her class is fully legal. She refuses to hear complaints about unfairness regarding her magic usage. Errol says he doesn't mind, the best fighter wins. The match begins, and she immediately launches a barrage of fireballs at him. Errol dodges gracefully like Neo, deflecting and slashing through the remaining projectiles. She continues the barrage with seemingly endless mana, but Errol weaves through the attacks to close the distance and engage her directly. He strikes, but she blocks while launching another fireball to force him to retreat. Errol analyzes her skills, commenting on the convenience of switching effortlessly between close-range combat and long-range magical attacks. She boasts of her gifts, claiming a loser cannot defeat her. Errol replies that despite knowing the basics, she has mastered neither of the disciplines. Enraged, she vows to humble him, using magic to ignite her blade and transform it into a blazing sword. She claims only a true magic swordsman can wield such power. She swings, sending flames chasing Errol, who calmly sidesteps and slashes against the fire. He struggles to predict her erratic movements and acknowledges her talent, admitting she must have practiced extensively to reach this level of skill. He stands his ground, teaching her true mastery by deflecting every flame attack without moving a single inch from his spot. He claims that if her swordsmanship were better, she could have been a truly troublesome opponent. Currently, she is barely better than an NPC. Humiliated, she loses her composure. Errol seizes the moment, unleashing a twin slash that extinguishes her flames and shocks her before she can even comprehend what has just happened. He blinks behind her, striking her head with his pommel to knock her out. The crowd erupts as judges announce Errol won the fourth block. He only thinks about mastering and applying the skills she demonstrated. Days later, the day of the final tournament finally arrives. The blonde girl wakes her father, insisting he watch the tournament with her. She wants to cheer for Errol and Ray, who both reach the finals. Her father refuses to open his eyes, dismissing her. Indifferent, he ignores her, so she provokes him. She asks if he fears seeing Jorg. Rod is instantly triggered, denying any fear of Jorg. He calms down, revealing a rare moment of vulnerability. He admits to his daughter he tried holding his sword. He realized he is too rusty to win the Sword God tournament now. This angers her, as she failed the prelims while he complains about winning the entire tournament despite being rusty. She reminds him he can still match the finalists, while lifelong swordsmen fail to even qualify for the very first match. Rod finally agrees to accompany her to the stadium. He reflects on training Ray before he became a one-armed mess. He cherishes those memories, wondering how his oldest student will perform since he feels deeply connected to her. At the tournament, Ray is visibly anxious, her legs shaking nervously. Errol surprises her, asking if she fears facing him in the very first match of the tournament. His comment distracts her fears, and she strikes him. Errol catches her punch as the announcer reveals the first match. Jorg, the defending champion, versus Errol, the classless phenom surprising everyone with his winning streak. He stands to leave, and Ray wishes him luck. Errol enters the arena, hearing the blonde girl shout. She yells for him to tear Jorg into pieces. Seeing Jorg enter the arena, Errol immediately realizes something is terribly wrong with him. Jorg has purple eyes, fangs, and a horn. He looks possessed by a demon. Errol's instincts flare, warning him that this opponent is extremely dangerous. Rod instantly realizes what is happening. Seeing Jorg's sword, he screams for Errol to retreat. The sword contains a trapped demon. Jorg speaks with a distorted voice, mocking that he didn't expect anyone to recognize him so quickly. The girl is confused, but Rod explains the demon has fully possessed Jorg, meaning the man himself is no longer in control of his own body. Rod reveals that sword belonged to the sword god, who originally defeated the Demon King. The dying demon cursed the blade, necessitating its lockdown. The demon smiles, boasting he was sealed for centuries but knew someone would eventually free him. He waited patiently for a power-hungry fool like Jorg to claim the sword and inadvertently release him. He announces to the stadium that he is Gilda. He is the destroyer of mankind. Ray steps out, realizing the myth is actually terrifyingly real. Gilda is a planetary threat, not just a bedtime story for scaring children. Chaos ensues as the terrified audience recognizes the name and stampedes to escape the stadium. Gilda enjoys the sound of humans screaming in terror. He refuses to let them escape, creating a massive magic circle that traps the entire stadium under an impenetrable dome of energy, locking everyone inside. He laughs at the horror, calling their screams music, and plans to enjoy slaughtering every single trapped human there. Surprisingly, Errol stands firm with his sword drawn, prompting Gilda to tell him to run for his life. Errol claims he can defeat him. Since he lost before, he is clearly not invincible. The demon laughs, noting a sword god defeated him last time. Jorg's memories confirm no sword god currently exists in this era. Errol retorts that his mother is a sword god, but he can defeat the demon without holding that title himself. The monster laughs until Errol suddenly dashes forward to launch a swift attack. The demon retreats before counterattacking. Errol dodges, shocking the demon, who realizes the boy used the divine step, a technique reserved only for sword gods. Errol persists, utilizing the technique to attack from multiple angles simultaneously. The demon smiles, reminding Errol that possessing a sword emperor's body makes him nearly impervious to such standard attack. He jumps, smashing Errol into the ground by the shoulder. He thinks Errol finished. Shockingly, Errol withstands the attack with minimal damage, thanks to his extensive reinforcement training with Ray. Unsettled, Gilda attacks again, but Errol swats him away before unleashing Infinite Break, overwhelming the demon with a flurry of slashes from every direction that completely dominate the battle. This triggers Gilda's fear, confirming Errol is using legitimate sword god technique. He cannot believe a mere boy possesses such skill. Before Gilda can react, Errol delivers a powerful finishing slash, sending the demon crashing into the ground. Everyone cheers, believing Errol defeated the demon god. Gilda survived the blow. Since the sword is his true body, he abandons the damaged vessel to seize Rod as his new host instead. Errol shoves Ray aside, while Rod shields his daughter from the flying blade. The dust settles revealingly. Rod stands possessed, holding the demon blade against his own daughter's throat menacingly. Errol regrets failing to destroy the sword itself earlier. He should have targeted the blade, not the body. The demon threatens to kill her if Errol moves, but Errol ignores him completely. He says killing is impossible. Ray fears the provocation, yet when Gilda attempts the murder, the hand resists his command. Errol explains Rod's superior strength makes him much harder to control than Jorg. Rod stabs the earth, releasing his daughter as the demon struggles for dominance. Rod overpowers the entity, breaking free from its dark influence. He tosses the sword to Errol, who shatters it into dust instantly. Days later, the horrific incident surprisingly transforms into a blessing for the guild. Errol's victory spread the word that Dragon Fang is reclaiming its status as the strongest guild in the entire city. Aspiring swordsmen flooded the registration lines, hoping the tournament champion Errol himself would personally train them in combat. Unfortunately, they received a different teacher. Rod, revitalized and confident after the incident, became their instructor, proving far stricter and more experienced than Errol. He trains recruits ruthlessly, regaining the intense passion of his past. He spars alone, effortlessly beating every single new recruit. He trains them until they collapse. The blonde girl confronts a recruit, hiding behind a pillar to escape. She reminds him he was accepted only because he promised full dedication. The recruit mutters he never expected Rod's diabolical training regime would be this hard. He asks if Errol will train them, but she sighs in deep frustration. She reveals Errol quit the guild immediately after winning the cup. She laments that Ray also followed him, hoping to stop him. Now both are gone indefinitely, and she doubts they will ever return to her. Meanwhile, Errol travels through the forest with the same driver who originally brought him. The driver is surprised Errol left the city so quickly after his tournament victory. Errol calmly explains that winning the cup proved he defeated the best swordsmen the city offers, so staying there serves no further purpose since he has absolutely no challengers left to fight. The driver is confused, arguing that holding the title of strongest swordsman is a great reason to stay. Errol refuses to stagnate where no challenges exist. The driver asks why he is returning home. He wonders if Errol is homesick. Errol replies he only wanted to test his training progress against the very best. The driver remains puzzled. Errol wants to see if he can finally defeat his mother. Reaching the village, he tries sneaking up on his mother while she gathers flowers in the garden. However, her experience allows her to sense him immediately and speak. Surprised, Errol smiles, acknowledging that being caught by the world's strongest fighter is nothing to be ashamed of. She turns, evaluating him, and notes that he appears to have gained significant experience recently. Errol reveals his tournament victory, delighting his mother, who notes the family now boasts 2 winners of that same cup. Errol smiles, but instantly she moves. She vanishes, reappearing instantly to hold a flower to his face while asking about its scent. Shocked, Errol realizes he would be dead if the flower were a sword, proving he needs more training. To reach her level, he must improve. He smiles, admitting she saw through him and knows exactly why he returned home today. She smiles, saying a mother always understands what her son wants. Reading his eyes, she warns that sparring here would destroy the house, so she proposes moving their match to the training grounds behind the mountains. They prepare and meet at the remote location, swords drawn. She smiles, eager to test her son's current strength. Errol warns her not to underestimate him, as he has improved significantly since their last meeting. His mother smiles and instantly appears before him with sword drawn. Errol blocks the attack, sparks flying as he struggles to hold his ground. She grins playfully. She assures him she is taking this fight seriously. Errol ignores her words, knowing any distraction could be disastrous for him. He realizes he only blocked it because he recognized the move from home. Knowing he needs offense to win, he sidesteps her blade, leaps into the air, and combines the divine slash with twin air slices to attack her. She parries easily, excitedly asking if he just combined those 2 skills. Errol confirms it and asks what skill blocked him. Confused, she replies that she used no skill, just a simple sword swing. Errol is shocked that his attacks were so weak. She blocked without using skills. As they clash, massive shockwaves scare the villagers, who fear 2 monsters are battling violently in the forest. Errol presses the attack, using aerial leap to close the distance midair. She repels him, and as they land, she smiles, deciding to finally unleash her full power by releasing her sword's divine strength. Errol matches her power, clashing again. Meanwhile, Ray arrives at the deserted village and heads to Errol's house to check if he has returned. Errol's sister answers the door. She dislikes strange women showing up for her brother. She attempts to slam the door. Suddenly, Errol and his mother return, battered from their intense spar. Surprised to see Ray, he explains he was just sparring in the forest. His mother proudly claims Errol has grown stronger and even defeated her today. Errol clarifies they were evenly matched, and he only won thanks to his raw strength. Ray remains shocked, knowing his mother is a mythical sword god. Errol admits she would have crushed him in her prime. Even retired and rusty, she remains the toughest opponent he has ever battled in his life. They enter the house to eat cake together. His mother asks eagerly how Errol met such a lovely girl. Errol mentions they lived together, making his mother's eyes sparkle with hope that she is the one. Ray quickly clarifies they simply shared the same guild. She remembers her purpose and asks Errol why he left the guild so abruptly. Errol replies he left a resignation letter. Ray insists he should have said goodbye in person first. Errol bluntly explains that with no competition left in the city, leaving was obviously his only logical option available. His mother asks if she came out of worry, but Ray reveals she actually came to become her student and learn every single technique she has to offer. His mother teases, asking if she wants to learn to be Errol's housewife. Before Ray can argue, a familiar voice calls out. Evans, her father, arrives in the yard, shouting for Errol's mother to head toward the forest immediately. He warns that powerful monsters destroyed half the forest just a moment ago. His mother quickly explains that she and Errol already dealt with the monster, so the danger is gone. Relieved, Evans decides to inform the village that immediate evacuation is no longer necessary. Suddenly, he notices his daughter. He remarks she looks increasingly like her mother. He asks about her visit. Before Ray answers, Errol's mother interjects, claiming Ray wants to learn to be a wife. Ray argues she only wants to learn swordsmanship. His mom assures her she will teach both swordsmanship and wifely duties. Errol goes upstairs to the study, finding his father busy at his desk, surrounded by magical symbols. He greets Errol, claiming he is nearing a breakthrough for his ultimate technique. Errol ignores that, announcing he defeated his mother and now wants his father to teach him magic. His father congratulates him on the victory, but he states learning magic is impossible for him. A moment later, Errol helps fix the table, while his dad magically repairs a shattered mug. As they return the tools, his father reiterates that using magic remains an impossible dream for him. He explains that sword mastery is possible through daily practice and incremental improvement. The shed's broken blades stand as proof of his dedication. However, learning magic without a mana pool is like fencing without any arms. It is impossible. Errol turns, asking his father how he knows he lacks mana completely. His father argues a class proves mana exists, but Errol recalls training with Ray back in Brescia. He depleted the guild's holy water, annoying the blonde girl who complained that his consumption was driving their indebted guild deeper into financial ruin. She brought out several mana recovery potions, insisting he drink those alternatives instead. Since drinking them, Errol has felt small traces of mana circulating within. Intrigued, his father decides to test this, guiding Errol to release a tiny bit of mana into his palm. Surprisingly, Errol succeeds in doing exactly that. He falls over unconscious immediately. This confirms Errol definitely holds a small amount of mana. Upon waking, Errol asks his father how to learn magic now. His father notes his mana pool is currently smaller than a newborn's. He must increase it through daily training. Since training is Errol's specialty, he buys potions and practices daily. After 6 months, he finally produces enough mana to be categorized as a complete beginner with a weak mana pool. Overjoyed, his father suggests attending the Magic Academy, the very place where he learned spells. He reveals parchment covered in spells. He tells Errol he must learn these to cast magic. Errol imagines the possibilities of learning magic at the academy that made his father the country's greatest wizard. That evening at dinner, Errol's mother happily reports that Ray is steadily improving at both her daily housework duties and her swordsmanship. His father announces Errol is becoming a wizard, opening endless new possibilities for him. 3 years pass, and Ray trains daily with his mother to master both her swordsmanship and housekeeping. This morning, his mother tasked her with making tea, which stressed her initially. She focused and finally served it with trembling hands. She waited anxiously as his mother sipped the tea, eventually exclaiming that she did a wonderful job because the flavor was absolutely perfect. This praise makes Ray happier than she expected. Her celebration is interrupted by Errol's sister Myra screaming from upstairs after she went to wake him up for the day. He was missing, leaving only a handwritten note behind. They check the note, which contains a single line stating he is going to Arspell, the city of magic. His mother is saddened he left without saying goodbye, while Myra continues crying loudly. Ray reflects on her own past behavior. She realizes her leaving must have hurt her family. His mother begs Ray not to leave similarly, and Ray promises to stay because she still has much to learn. His mother reflects on her eldest daughter leaving, and now Errol is gone too, making her wonder when they will reunite. Meanwhile, Errol has already reached the village outskirts. He travels with the surprised knight-turned driver he met previously. Errol asks about travel time, and the man estimates roughly 2 days to arrive. They converse, and the man calls Errol incredibly weird. He conquered Brescia with incredible strength, yet abandoned fame and fortune to return to an obscure village that nobody knows exists. He disappeared for 3 years and now heads toward Arspell, the famous city of magic. Errol says he wants to test his luck in the examination against others. Suddenly, a young redhead asks if Errol is attending the Magical Academy entrance exam. He finds it odd, since Errol is older than typical applicants. Before Errol replies, a blue-haired girl scolds the boy, insisting he shouldn't mock Errol, assuming he has clearly failed the exam for several years. Errol cannot explain that this is his first visit. She calls it admirable to see weak people trying to overcome their inherent flaws. The red-haired boy and the blue-haired girl start arguing. A green-haired girl fails to calm them, and the boy turns to Errol again, asking about his magic specialty while boasting that he uses red magic. Errol remembers his father teaching the affinities. Black is dark magic, white is light, yellow is earth, and green represents the power of wind magic. Blue signifies water magic, and red represents fire magic. Lacking innate affinities, his father decided Errol should attempt learning every single type of magic possible. Returning to reality, he tells the boy he is unsure of his magic, as he possesses no class. The boy is surprised, but the girl calls Errol a loser for mocking them. A classless person would never dream of attending the academy exams. The furious boy demands Errol stop mocking him, but Errol insists he is serious and displays his ID card, proving to everyone that he is truly classless. Shocked, the kids insist he will fail the exams, but before Errol can respond to them, a massive roar erupts from the forest, shaking trees. Errol identifies the sound immediately, claiming a troll king has awakened from deep sleep. The boy panics, urging them to run because the troll king is incredibly strong. The blue girl yells at the driver. The horrified driver reveals his horses have fainted from fear of the loud roar. She realizes escape is impossible, so they must stand and fight. She formulates a plan, telling the others they can defeat the slow beast by working together, as it is merely a troll. Their plan collapses when the troll king emerges from the forest wielding a massive club. Red tries calming the girls, insisting they must stay composed to take down the huge monster. They are suddenly terrified by a shock. A larger troll smashes the first one away with a club. The terrified girls drop to their knees, realizing their magic is useless against such a colossal beast. The red boy maintains composure to impress the girls. He jumps out, calms himself, draws his wand, and uses all his mana to launch a fireball that hits the troll directly in the face. They hope for success, but the smoke clears to reveal the unhurt troll is angrier now. That attack drained his mana. He lacks the mana to escape now. The troll charges, but a sudden massive explosion engulfs the area, turning the beast to ash. Everyone is shocked. Errol appears, admitting he probably should have held back slightly. The shocked group whispers that explosion magic is an advanced technique used only by powerful mages, making Errol's casual use of it even more impressive to them. Ignoring them, Errol walks to the horses. He uses healing spells to restore them. When he turns, the red boy is kneeling, begging forgiveness and asking to become Errol's apprentice to achieve his wizardry dreams. Errol tries to explain they are mistaken, as he is just a fellow examinee. He shows his card again. The green girl insists he is a great mage, using a fake card for disguise. Unable to clarify things, he continues to our spell, and they finally arrive early in the morning 2 days later. The city sits on a lake, accessible by drawbridges on all sides. The girls watch in shock as the previously cocky boy acts like a puppy, pestering Errol with endless questions. Inside, the boy assumes Errol is taking the red magic exam. This means they will be together. The girls will take earth and water exams. Errol learns tests are divided by affinity and strictly hopes he won't be rejected for being classless, just as he was back in the city of Brescia. Surprisingly, the receptionist smiles, stamps his card, and assigns him a roll number without any issue at all. Errol asks if his classless status is acceptable. She assures him everyone has an equal right to take the exam, and absolutely no discrimination will occur here. Realizing this place differs from Brescia, he heads to the testing grounds. He sees lined-up kids, watching one fire a small fireball at a metal knight to pass. Before he understands exactly what to do, a flashy redhead enters the arena, asking the instructor if he is allowed to destroy one of the metallic dolls. The instructor is initially confused. He checks the card, realizing the boy holds the incredibly rare advanced magic user class. The shocked boys watch him summon a pillar of flame that completely engulfs the metallic knight in the arena. The boy looks proud. However, the redhead claims Errol is better. Offended, the cocky boy turns to face him. The arrogant boy feels insulted and confronts him instantly. He asks if a commoner can beat an advanced user. The redhead claims Errol would chew him up and spit him out easily. The arrogant boy dismisses the threats, claiming nobody else can melt metal. Errol finally interjects. He notes the knight remains completely unmelted. The instructor explains the knights are made of mithril, an incredibly strong metal that never breaks easily. Kaido mocks the brat, insisting Errol could perform significantly better in this test. Errol hits him, then enters the arena. He surprises everyone by choosing to use the exact same skill. However, the explosion is small and thin, appearing to cause absolutely no damage to the target. The boy laughs until the mithril knight suddenly melts into a puddle of molten metal. The shocked boy insists eruption magic cannot melt mithril, but Errol explains he modified the spell to concentrate all the fire into a single thin column. This creates intense heat, unrivaled by standard magic. He leaves for the blue arena, watching the girl hit the target and pass the test. She is shocked seeing him, but Errol immediately uses an ice attack. He shatters the knight and heads to the green arena, leaving the students completely shaken. Outside, he finds the green-haired girl, who admits she is too scared to register for the test. He gives her a pep talk, boosting confidence. He helps her register and enter the arena, where the simple test requires moving a windmill using a basic wind spell, however going completely overkill. Errol summons a tornado, destroying the windmill into tiny pieces and shocking the stunned instructor. The girl panics again, but Errol motivates her and pushes her into the arena, where she passes the test successfully. He easily aces the light and yellow magic exams before finally heading toward the dark magic school. The abandoned building seems empty until he hears a strange noise coming from a nearby box. He investigates, but a woman appears crying about her lost pet and asking if he saw it. Errol points to the box, and the woman immediately starts searching through it. She pulls a weird toad creature out. Happy now, she tells Errol she created the chimera herself and asks if he thinks it is cute. Errol smiles awkwardly until a skeleton suddenly jump scares him from behind. Relying on instinct, he beheads the skeleton with one swing. The skeleton retrieves its head. When asked if she is a monster, the skeleton introduces herself as Lara, a beautiful office clerk here. Errol asks about exams, and Lara explains the school accepts anyone because they rarely get any students these days. Thus, he successfully entered all 6 schools. After registering, he meets the group outside, who argue about which school he belongs to since he attended all of their exams today. Errol shocks them by revealing he passed every exam and intends to learn every single magical affinity. The 3 kids wonder how he obtained multiple student IDs. He assumes the schools lack communication, allowing him to create this unique situation. With exams passed and paperwork finished, Errol now faces one significant problem. He worries about overlapping schedules, and Kaido yells that he warned him about this. Errol argues he can manage, since each course requires only 20% attendance. If he aces finals, teachers won't care about his attendance. Colette warns him that he cannot score well without notes, because teachers provide the most recent information during their daily lectures. Errol asks to borrow their notes, and everyone happily agrees to share with him. They ask about other schools, and Errol explains the Black Magic School allows students to learn through self-study without a fixed schedule. With only yellow and white schools remaining, Errol believes focusing on them will ensure he passes everything, while Kaido fully supports his ambitious goal. Kyufa pulls Colette aside, doubting Errol can handle this insane workload since most students struggle managing just 2 schools at once, let alone 6. Errol attends the Red School with Kaido, where the arrogant brat from the exam appears. Alarmed, he sees Errol and confronts him. However, Errol ignores him completely. Annoyed, Royce declares the exam was a fluke, claiming a mage like him cannot lose to a mere spellcaster. Errol denies being a spellcaster, but Royce misinterprets his words entirely. He assumes Errol is similar, but Errol denies that immediately. Shocked, Royce imagines Errol is an archmage, but Errol denies that title as well. Before they can continue, the teacher arrives, and Royce immediately asks about Errol's class. The teacher checks the register, revealing Errol is classless, making the blonde brat doubt existence. As the lecture begins, Kaido struggles to understand the magic script, which is more complicated than he remembered. For Errol, it is basic, and he wonders why they teach it here. The teacher explains that most students haven't learned the grammar for magic script yet. That grammar is essential for efficient spellcasting. He discusses mastering the script, adding that once students reach a more advanced level, they can rearrange spells to make them powerful. Kaido realizes Errol did exactly that. Shocked, it is a high-level technique since he watched his father do it casually his entire life. Later, Errol tells Colette at the Green School that classes haven't taught him anything new. However, he hopes to finally learn flight magic here today. Colette is surprised, assuming someone as skilled as Errol could already fly perfectly. He explains his dad fears heights greatly. Thus, flight magic remained completely untaught. The teacher instructs everyone to spread their arms and imagine riding an upward air current for balance. Errol realizes the teacher assumes everyone already possesses flight skill. He is completely clueless about what to do. Colette begins floating, but her excitement causes her instability. She loses balance and falls. Students mock her fall, but she shrugs it off, refusing to let them ruin her mood. She resumes practicing, and her confidence inspires Errol. He cannot imagine the air current lifting him. He creates a tornado underneath to propel himself. The tornado flings him upward, and he crash lands, creating a massive crater below. Colette helps him up, but a green-haired boy arrives and mocks them both for being losers. He decides to demonstrate, effortlessly rising into the air to show off his graceful flying skills. Colette is impressed, and the boy brags that he practices only flight magic and wins every single race easily. Errol asks about the race, and Colette explains people compete on a set course using flight. Intrigued, Errol declares he will participate in the race. The boy mocks him, but Errol insists he will learn through daily practice. The boy confirms the race is in 2 months, telling Errol he lacks time to practice. It usually takes people 6 months to learn flight properly. He leaves, and Colette suggests Errol participate next year instead. But Errol is already planning his victory. Days later, the group visits the school at night because Colette forgot something inside. Kaido asks why they dragged him along instead of going alone. Kyufa mentions the rumors, explaining they need extra protection for safety tonight. However, Kaido is clueless, so Kyufa asks if he lives under a rock. She mentions rumors of a ghost flying at night, causing Kaido to freak out because he fears supernatural entities. Kyufa teases him until he yells, while Colette tries to calm them both. A shady figure flies to the window, panicking them, but the man enters and covers Colette's mouth to silence her screams immediately. They are all terrified. Kaido prepares to attack the hooded man immediately. However, it is just Errol practicing his flight magic. His friends realize Errol was the rumored ghost. They tell him to rest at night. Errol claims he sleeps plenty. He was asleep before reaching the window. His friends do not understand his meaning. Errol explains he trained his body to practice spells even while sleeping. Doing nothing while resting wastes too much valuable time. His friends find that hard to believe. Although they tell him to stop acting crazy, he motivates them to try harder. The others return to the dorms, but the wide-awake Errol decides to use his time productively now. He visits the Black Magic School, and Lara is happy. Errol requests permission to enter the library immediately. Turning back, he smiles and praises their excellent performance. He handles it now. The other professors arrive on the scene like Power Rangers. The Light Master orders the children to run to City Hall immediately. Errol offers to stay and fight, but the Flame Master insists he leaves, assuring him the Supreme Class Masters can handle the threat without student help. The Blue Professor claims it is their duty to protect the students. That is their intention. The Yellow Master suspects the beast is black magic, wondering if the Dark School Professor is somehow involved. The Red Professor notes the monster resists magic, since the students' attacks failed to scratch its surface. The Blue Professor insists those were weak spells cast by inexperienced first-year students. Their advanced magic should easily destroy this ugly beast. The Blue Professor casts Permafrost, while the Light Master uses Holy Cross, freezing the monster solid before attempting to destroy it. Surprisingly, it fails, and the monster remains as strong and energetic as before. The Red and Wind Masters decide to attack together, using their spells synergistically. They create a flaming tornado that the Blue Teacher believes could wipe almost any monster from existence. To their shock, the monster remains completely unaffected. The Wind Master notes the monster grows bigger and stronger the more magic spells they cast. The monster finally retaliates, shooting massive tentacles at them. The Yellow Master casts an earth wall instantly, shielding them and trapping the monster inside a massive prison. They feel relief thinking it is contained, but are horrified when the wall starts breaking down. The Yellow Master warns he cannot hold on much longer, urging them to find a solution. The Flame Master suggests a combined magical attack, hoping overwhelming power will completely destroy the beast instantly. However, the Light Master calls that a terrible idea. Since the monster absorbs damage to grow, she fears how strong it might become if they attack. The Blue Master panics, wondering how they are supposed to fight such a creature. The slime slowly breaks free. Watching from above with Maddie, Errol realizes he has learned every single magic spell available to learn at this academy. Maddie asks what he means by that. Errol explains he learned every spell from books, and only stayed to see if the masters possessed any unique magical abilities he didn't know yet. Having seen it all, he believes he has learned everything at the academy. Maddie identifies the slime as a dangerous demon from the demon realm. That is why the teachers find it troublesome. He explains the monster absorbs everything thrown at it, growing bigger and stronger with each attack. Errol proposes using magic powerful enough to overwhelm it, or physical attacks so destructive the monster cannot even comprehend the damage. Maddie doubts anyone here possesses the magic or physical strength to inflict such damage. Errol decides he will try it regardless. He summons a sword immediately, rushing the monster to deliver a massive strike. He slices off a huge chunk, surprising Maddie with his success. Errol is unhappy because the slime regenerates the lost part instantly. Suddenly, all the teachers arrive on a carpet. They ask if he is a magic swordsman, but Errol insists he is classless. They dismiss the joke, but he warns them to back off because the slime targets mana to grow stronger. The teachers realize the slime is destroying the city because it is heading toward the city hall filled with students. The red teacher refuses to leave him, but Errol insists they prioritize the students' safety. He can handle himself and delay the beast. The teachers agree they are useless here and decide to head for City Hall. Errol traps the monster with a stone wall and summons golems for an infinite break attack. Surprisingly, the powerful strike fails to inflict lasting damage, as the monster begins regenerating immediately. Errol decides to try magic again, drawing his wand to prepare a massive flame attack against the beast. Maddie doubts it, but Errol plans more than just flame magic. To everyone's surprise, he channels every affinity one by one, combining them into a massive multicolored magic circle. He recalls his father warning him to avoid this dangerous magic. It could cause a catastrophe. Errol realizes his mana reserves are insufficient compared to his father's, just as he thinks the plan will fail. Suddenly, a massive amount of mana floods his body through sheer connection. The professors channel student mana into Errol, allowing him to unleash a powerful attack that decimates everything beneath him. He erases the slime from existence instantly. Students cheer as Errol descends. The teachers swarm him, asking how he used all spells simultaneously, because such legendary magic is achievable only by a true mage lord. He says his father is a mage lord. He taught him that mastering every school is required to become a mage lord. The professors realize their system is flawed. By teaching only single affinities, they ensure they never produce any true mage lord. Errol notices a moving slime piece, picking it up to take home. He seals it as a servant familiar, finding it useful for garbage disposal. Suddenly Kufa, Kaido and Colette burst in, asking if he is leaving. Errol confirms he is returning home, having learned everything possible here. From there, he will visit the Monster City to study every creature existing in the world. His friends are saddened by his departure. They say goodbye, watching Errol fly off into the sunset. He flies continuously back toward his home village. Maddie asks about family. Errol claims his parents are just ordinary villagers. Maddie assumes they are proud that the son of classless parents mastered both swordsmanship and wizardry. Errol asks why Maddie thinks his parents are classless. Maddie is confused because a classless person surely has classless parents. Errol shocks him, revealing his mother is a sword saint and father a mage lord. Shocked, Maddie asks how they qualify as normal villagers then. Errol explains they retired from adventuring long ago to live comfortably in the boonies. Flying through the sky, Errol realizes they cannot reach home tonight, so they must find a village to stay in to avoid camping in the forest. Luckily, they spot a populated village on the route, so he decides to stay overnight there and continue tomorrow. By nightfall, Errol secures a room. With everything finished, he decides to treat himself to a refreshing hot bath. They relax in the bath. Suddenly, a girl enters wearing a towel. Maddie tenses immediately and hides behind Errol for safety. Errol doesn't mind, inviting her in since it is a mixed-gender bath. She thanks him, entering the bath with a sigh before asking about Errol. Maddie whispers that something is wrong with her, urging Errol to stay guarded. He realizes Errol already knows, but stays to see if she reveals any interesting new abilities to him. That is why he waits. The girl asks why he travels. Errol replies instantly that he simply wants to become as strong as possible. Intrigued, the girl asks if he enjoys fighting. Errol says he doesn't fight to win. He wants to test the true limits of a classless person's potential. She asks if he is truly a classless person. Errol confirms he is definitely classless and possesses no innate skills. That doesn't stop him. She asks if he gets mocked. Errol admits they do, but he learned to ignore it, so it never bothers him. He sits eating with the slime and Maddie. Maddie asks if he is sure about not seeing the kingdom. Errol insists on visiting his parents first to figure out his next move. The next morning, the girl blocks his path outside the inn, finally introducing herself as Princess Kureha, royalty of the kingdom. She orders him to accompany her to the kingdom by the queen's decree. Errol dismisses the queen, asking why a foreign ruler would be interested in him as he tries to leave. She looks down, admitting she doesn't know what the queen wants. It must be important, since she specifically sought a classless man named Errol. Errol replies he doesn't care and will not change his mind. Kureha insists the queen is a harmless goddess. Errol isn't worried about injury, though he doubts she could hurt him anyway. Having exhausted all options, Kureha decides to force him. She vanishes instantly, appearing behind Errol to try and knock him out cold. Errol is too fast, dodging out of the way easily. Kureha is surprised, but Errol warns he won't hold back if she fights. Promoting true equality, he kicks her in the stomach, dropping her to the ground. Errol scans the area, sensing 10 people hiding in the trees, and orders them to reveal themselves immediately. Ninjas appear around him. One asks how he detected them despite their specialized stealth skills designed to hide their presence. Errol says they can try hiding. But they don't disappear, so he can still sense them. The ninja leader rushes to Kureha, fussing over her and crying because she got dirt on her clothes. Kureha pushes her away, ordering them to capture Errol and treat him as a serious threat. They all attack at once. It is useless. Errol defeats them effortlessly, leaving every single one of them unconscious on the ground. Kingdom reinforcements arrive, shocked to find their elite forces completely defeated on the ground. They ask what happened, assuming an enemy ambush occurred. Kureha states Errol did this to them. The girls are shocked that a single classless loser could defeat elite fighters like them alone. Errol steps from behind a tree, eating a rice ball, asking if they are from the same kingdom. The dragon lady notices his formidable aura. She introduces herself as Princess Dora, the dragon lord, ordering Errol to surrender and face the queen immediately. The beast girl Turga argues she arrived first and deserves the honor of capturing him. Errol invites them to attack simultaneously, on the condition they use their strongest spells and techniques without holding back at all. They agree, unleashing their strongest skills, but the result is identical. Both the squad and the dragon lady lie defeated. Underwhelmed by their abilities, Errol becomes curious why the Empire wants him so badly in the first place. Kureha claims their queen is a goddess and the strongest being on Earth, so he stands no chance. This interests him, wondering what new abilities he might see. Curious now, he decides to visit the kingdom and see the queen. He flies to the castle, finding the gate open. He enters the drawbridge and gets surrounded by 4 women. Identifying as imperial generals with unique abilities, they order Errol to surrender himself immediately. He destroys them easily since they are no match, then enters the throne room. The last general blocks his path, shocked that he defeated the others so easily. Before she can draw her sword, the small queen runs past and hugs Errol, claiming she waited ages for him. It is his older sister. He struggles to push her away while the confused general watches the scene. Errol asks why she is playing Empress. She explains she promised to create a place where no one would discriminate against him based on class, and she finally fulfilled that vow. She claims he will stay here forever. She sent for their family, so they can all live happily together, without discrimination in this beautiful place. Estia expects Errol to be happy and hug her. However, he refuses the offer. He reminds her he is classless. Being unbound by ability or class gives him freedom to do anything, making his potential effectively limitless. He enjoys working hard to become the best fighter possible. Estia accepts his choice. Errol is grown and can do as he pleases. Errol thanks her and turns to leave, but Estia uses the heavens, a secret ability that completely controls others. She forces Errol to stop and turn around immediately. Errol realizes it is working as he is forced to face her. Estia decides on a questionable path, commanding him to marry her immediately. Her shocked generals watch her run for a kiss, but Errol kicks her face, telling her to stop. Estia is confused her absolute spell failed. Errol reveals he used a wind barrier for noise cancellation to protect himself from hearing her command. Estia accepts defeat. Errol leaves the palace, promising to visit her again soon. He leaves for home, arriving there by the afternoon. His relieved mother hugs him, while Myra jumps on him, delighted he brought a demon and a slime back home. That night, Ray visits his room hoping for action, but Errol only discusses what she learned recently. They discuss events, and Errol describes the city of magic. They talk late, and Ray hopes Errol stays so they can spend time together. The next morning, Myra cries that Errol left another note, saying he is heading to the city of demons. Ray just smiles. She knows he is unstoppable. Errol flies with Maddie, excited to learn new things in the next city. The video ends here. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks, see you next time.